What is affecting your real estate business by these market changes? Stay tuned. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Note School TV. And by the way, the fan favorite, this is our monthly update for August 2022. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. But before we do, three things that you can do for us. Number one is make sure and hit that like button, letting us know that you like what we're doing. Make sure and please do that. Number two, hit that subscribe button if you have not already subscribed to Note School TV. And number three, hit that bell notification. Yes, hit that bell notification right now so that you will be informed before we go live. When? Every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Also, please keep those questions and those comments coming in. Over the last couple of months, you guys have been really great about sharing your thoughts and your insights and letting us know what you think of our guests that we're having on, because they're always great, right? They're awesome. So make sure and continue to do that. We love to hear from you. And that way, Eddie and I know what you're thinking and what you're doing out there. And then also, if you would like to have more information about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. So with that being said, well, you know what our motto is at Note School? We teach you how to close more deals. We teach you guys how to close more deals. That is our goal at Note School. So with that, I'm going to bring on our founder, our chief visionary officer, my friend, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Hey, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good.
I am good as well, Eddie.
I've been over here working on that campaign that you just mentioned, that close more deals thing.
There you go. Hey, you know what? That is the deal, right? That is the bomb. It's teaching folks in an ever-changing market how to close more deals, right?
Well, I know that our market update this week has a lot to do with the mortgage business. But the truth of the matter is, what we're teaching people how to do is do real estate, making creative offers when the conventional mortgage industry isn't filling the gap. Now, Joe, it's not that they don't want to fill the gap.
Right.
But the market is what it is with rates and underwriting. And so this is most real estate investors that really get this, they're fired up realizing that these creative offers are filling a huge part in their market. And you're talking about closing more deals. I mean, like you're looking at a lot more deals because of that. And I was at another high volume real estate investor mastermind last week. And the word of the day was the market is drastically changed. And so I think learning some of the variables and understanding where there's voids in the market become clarity to us, because if we're filling that gap, we got to know what the gap is and why there's a gap.
That's right? Exactly right. Yeah.
So this market update should be really good. Joe has done a King Kong good job, right? And I'm going to tell you guys something. I have been working on that closing more deals thing. I've been really focused on that the last few days. And so, Joe, I want to thank you for really pulling this presentation together. And you're going to have the lead today. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for these guys to get to see what you've put together. And obviously, I'm sure I'll have a commentary or two, right?
Well, I would not feel right if you did not, right? So, and thank you for working on this of closing more deals. When you have more options, you can certainly close more deals because you have a whole lot more exits, right?
Yeah, that's obviously the other thing that that enables people to do is not just close more deals that you can sell to other investors, but it lets you keep properties if you want to rent them. You can resell them. You got all these things, and these creative offers really is what gets you there. So, Joe, let's see what you got, baby.
Well, we're going to start out with I call him Jay now, right? Chairman Powell. We're on a first name basis now as we go through this. So Jay and some of the other bigwigs were in Jackson Hole, Wyoming last week and meeting. Nice place to meet, right, Eddie?
Yeah.
And so they were talking about what's going on. And so, back in May, Powell said, we have the tools, resources, and the will to get inflation under control. And now his big phrase in this coming out of this meeting is we're going to raise rates until the job is done. It says in the bottom on there, he said Chairman Powell vowed to fight inflation. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to circle it in red forcefully in remarks on Friday at the central bank's annual summer gathering in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So I think that tells us what's coming as far as rates go, Eddie.
Yeah. And I mean, Joe, when I started in the business in 1980, right?
Yeah.
When I started in the business, seller financing became an industry. Absolutely. As a result of that era, right? People seller finance properties for centuries.
Yes.
But it really became a industry as a result of that event. And I would tell you that every real estate investor alive learned various strategies of creative offers when they bought and creative offers when they sold, or however they built their portfolio. But creative financing became part of their life. Yeah. And I have had a lot of conversation with, I believe, very impactful people. Well, listen, Jerry Green was on here with us just a few weeks ago. Jerry Green, as you heard me say, literally probably his company, Real Estate Sales Academy, probably is the top 1,000 or 1,500, literally.
Yes.
Real estate investors in the business are all clients of theirs. And we've had conversations within the last week, as you know, Joe, that it's just a market condition. So Note School has taken this direction because this is the direction the market is going. We're just showing you, entrepreneurs solve problems other people can't solve, right, Joe?
That's right.
If you can solve this problem with rates, then it's a lot to be said about where your future is.
And that's very true. And Eddie, we can see this latest slide here from Freddie Mac. And if you'll look, and this is as of last Thursday. This is the latest rates we have. But the fixed rate 30 years, 5.55, 4.85 on the 15, and 4.36 on that 5/1 ARM. And you'll see that it kind of went up in June, right? It got right at 6%, somewhere between 5.8 and 6%. And then it went down, right, again, and now it's going back up. And the big thing that they've said is what's going to happen when the Fed meets again the 21st of September they'll have 3 more meetings this year. So the trend is definitely going to be up.
Long-term mortgage rates are driven really by the bond market.
Yes.
Right? And they don't necessarily follow exactly with prime.
That's right.
But over time, they will pattern somewhat together. Based on what the Fed has done, these rates are probably artificially low. And that's a result that mortgage, these big mortgage lenders, that create these big packages of loans and sell those loans in the market, they're not profiting on the resale into the bond market. I mean, their profits are giantly different. I mean, hugely different. And so they're kind of trying to hold those rates down. But I'm telling you, the market it's going to do what it's going to do. And let's just be fair about it. It's probably not going down.
Well, and that's right. And so, the interest rates, Eddie, as you know, are based on the 10-year T-bill, the bond, plus whatever risk they assign to that. The more riskier loans, the higher it is. So that's where it is. So yeah, everybody is pointing to a higher rate, and they're looking possibly at another 3/4 basis points, 75 basis points. And we'll see, right? I mean, we'll see what happens. So I thought this was pretty interesting, Eddie. And this is U.S. lenders are starting to go broke. And primarily what we're talking about here are the non-bank lenders and the non-QM lenders. They don't rely on deposits from depositors like Wells Fargo or Bank of America. They rely on lines of credit and warehouse loans, and remember Countrywide and what they did. So they take on the riskier, high LTV, lower interest or lower higher LTV loans, right? Higher rate loans. So, yeah.
Well, the mortgage industry is in a bad way, and we're not saying that laughing. In a sense, Joe, they're kind of our competition. I mean, we're like this big, and they're big as a mountain, right?
That's right.
But the creative financing does fill the gap conventional lending doesn't fill. But they've had a 1-2 punch. They're in the virus. They had a lot of loans that didn't pay. They ended up having to pay their bond holders, even though they weren't getting a check. That was called a shortfall. It was Joe, that for about 18 months, it was about $1 billion a week.
A week. Yes.
Right. Now, we don't talk about that much anymore, but if you go look back, we talked about a whole lot while that was going on.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden they're not only their volume shrunk, but their profit on a loan has drastically been cut.
What I said on that, Eddie, I've got, yeah.
So understand these are all things that are affecting the market, and the people that loan them the money, they're bankers, and they're probably looking at being kind of careful about what they're loaning money on, right?
Well, that's it. And they're cutting the big banks are cutting their programs, the loan programs they have. And so anyway, and when the interest rates were low, right, these non-bank lenders could borrow from the banks and lines of credit and so on, and make a good spread between what the rate was on a perfect borrower versus a non-QM borrower. And now that's getting constricted, right?
That's it.
So here's what it looks like according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. There's your index. And, we started way up here a year in 2021, and we're way down here in August of 2022. So mortgage loan
like we're going to run off the bottom of the page, Joe.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, you've got, 30 to 50% drop off is what they're saying now in volume in 2022, down from 4.5 trillion or so dollars in originations and refinances in 2021 to basically 2.1 to 2.3 trillion in 2022. And some are calling it maybe a little less, a 35 to 50% drop off in volume.
I'm pretty close with some large lenders, and their volume is 50% or less of what it was last year, and they're not looking for bright times to the end of the year.
No.
Yeah.
So, and we know this, right? Mortgage lending standards are the tightest in 9 years because of fewer mortgage products, and not because of so much of loan quality. They're going to keep the standards. The standards are tighter, but they're just seeing a reduction in volume, right? I mean, refinance applications volume is down 80% over last year. And, that's what we just talked about. So the MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, is, they've got it nailed. They're in the know.
Well, pretty much that's what we're trying to do here, guys. It's not just Joe and Eddie, reeling about the market to tell you how good we can fix the gap. Right. The market is this, and this comes from the people that are in the industry. They're not motivated to call it bad. They're just having to call it bad because that's where they're at.
That's where it is.
Underwriting is tight and volume is low, and we need a rescue plan, Joe. I think it could involve creative financing.
You know what? And you and I talked last week, and you said, "Well, Joe, let's not make it so, down, down, down." But here's the thing, Eddie. This is bad news for people that don't know what we know, right?
Yeah, here's the truth. We didn't want to make our show a Debbie Downer, so
Right.
we were trying to look for really positive things out there, and we're sort of struggling a little bit.
Well, Eddie, let me look at this. I just found this a few minutes before we did the show. But lenders took a loss per loan in Q2 as some servicing income slipped. Mr. Cooper, New American Servicing, and they're saying, it's like 80. It's down below zero as far as their net income on production per quarter. So that's pretty significant.
So let me kind of tell you guys what that means. Okay. If you were a big lender and you did $1 billion loan portfolio and you sold that portfolio into a mortgage-backed security, it turned into bonds, right? And first of the year, you were selling that portfolio for 106, 107, right in there. So $1 billion, Joe, 107% of that means that you're making $70 million on that $1 billion loan portfolio. Upfront profit, not just future profit, upfront profit. And today they're lending that money out and they're not getting all of their money back. In other words, they lent out $1 billion, but they're not getting the $1 billion back. They're taking a loss.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you some easy math. Okay. You want to know why they're not selling those loans for enough money?
This is a lean in.
The mortgage rates on those the rates on those mortgages that they made is too low.
Yep.
And and so people in the bond market won't pay that for them. They're paying less than 100 cents on the dollar. So that means that, yes, they are trying to hold mortgage rates down because it's killing their production, but they've got to go make a change. They've got to raise their rates up because otherwise they can't keep making $1 billion worth of loans and not getting at least their $1 billion back. And that's kind of swapping nickels to get your money back, Joe.
You're going to have to get a bigger truck like the guys with the watermelons, right? Eddie, are all these graphs going to have the lines kind of going off the chart downward? I don't know. Let's keep going, right? Well, we look at this. Here's your credit availability at lowest level since 2013. Eddie, we were up here just a few weeks ago, just last month in June and July. We were at 125 or so. And look at this. Now we're at 108.8.
So basically what this means, guys, this is for conventional mortgages, and this is their credit index. This is a standard that Mortgage Bankers Association has set, and it just kind of gives you a sense of who could get a loan. So before the virus, about 180 index. Today we're at 108. Mm-hmm. So before the virus, the credit standard to get a loan was 180. Today it's 108. That's not half, but that's pretty dramatic.
Yep.
So this tells us the condition of the industry. And once again, if you're trying to find a silver lining, the people that understand creative financing, you should be jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Right. This is our time to shine.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're not trying to make the news good or bad. We're just trying to make it the realization of this is where we are. And we've gathered information that we just kind of think we're throwing the ball right down the middle. We're not trying to go give you some market condition, some angle on it, because it's just where we stand.
Eddie, I threw this in there just because I want everybody to remember back, right, when there was a crash in slow motion. Remember in 2006, what that says is that everybody could get a loan, right?
Yeah.
So and then you look at July of 2022, and there you go. So let's move on.
Yeah. So,
Eddie, here's
so
the
this
silver
index
lining.
is crazy.
Yep. Here's that silver lining that we talked about, right? And actually, I should have made that go up a little bit higher, but I think everybody gets the picture, right?
So the idea is on the left, when mortgage lending is really easy, cheap and easy,
right,
then very few people are going to be forced to consider creative financing. When mortgage industry gets scarce and lending gets tough, then creative financing fills that gap. And so that gap obviously is rising. And Joe, let me say this. A lot of creative financing is going to be, is using some conventional lending and some creative financing on the exact same deal. More than 50% of creative financing is going to be that.
Yeah.
So creative financing doesn't have to just be just a first mortgage.
That's right.
So there's a lot of ways to make deals work because of it. And obviously you see that. I think that's why that slide looks good, because it's about 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for us, right? So, Eddie, we talked about this. The deal's off. Home sales are getting canceled at the highest rate since the start of the pandemic. And these are fractured closings, right?
Yeah.
And this is, and you know what? I think that it's probably a little higher than that, as you and I talked about. But certainly we understand why it was here in February of 2020, because obviously it fell off the map, right? I mean, it goes and it, starts down, and then it goes, and then it ends up at 11, very small percentage. And now it's starting to climb back up again. So 60,000 closings in June fell through.
I was at a real estate mastermind last week, and a very, 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 very seasoned, high volume real estate investor. The room I was in were all guys, kind of the 100 house a year plus type guys. And he made a statement that he believed that 75% of wholesalers' contracts are not closing. So the fractured rate for those contracts is higher than this industry stat. Now, that's a very specific audience, right? Just people that are trying to go buy houses at a discount. They're putting it under contract, and they're writing the contract. Why are they not closing? They're writing a contract for too much money.
That's right.
Right? And then all of a sudden they go in the market and they're trying to flip it to somebody else, and they can't get it sold. So 75% of the time, whatever they've written the contract on the property for, they can't find somebody else to take over their deal.
Which leads us to this, Eddie. The housing correction intensifies. Blackstone to stop buying in homes in 38 regional markets. And guys, if you want to find this, it's an interactive map, so you can click on each one of these. Go to Fortune, and it's an article, the housing correction intensifies. So, Eddie, we've got markets like Boise and Spokane and Reno, Nevada, and those markets, including Lakeland, Florida. They're calling for a 15 to 20% drop in those markets. Well, we know Boise, Spokane, Reno, Lakeland, Florida, which is up the road from me. But then again, if we look over here, we're talking about cities like, Virginia Beach and Washington, D.C. and Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Akron, Ohio, and Detroit, and Knoxville and Huntsville and Tennessee and Albuquerque and so on. And so that's what we're looking at, right?
Well, anybody that's out there, any of our listeners that are out here in the market, some people say my market's not been affected, and that's definitely a possibility. Most people that are out there in the market say, yes, my market's been affected. And here's the thing about it, Joe. Here's the thing. Okay. If the market has been the most affected by not just tight underwriting, but the market's been most affected because of unaffordability, right?
Right.
Because of rising rates, that monthly payment buys less, then understand that's at a market rate, Joe, that is less than 6%.
That's right.
Okay. So if rates continue to go up, then this is a factor.
That's right.
Right.
Well, and the Home Builders Association and National Association of Realtors they're calling what we're in a housing recession. But the thing of it is we're still, Zillow is probably the most bullish, or bearish, when they're saying they're looking, they said we're going to have a 7.8% rise in home prices in markets other than these 38, obviously, over the next 12 months. They revised that down to 2.49 but percent as far as a rise in prices in all other markets. But again, some are, we've got National Association of Realtors, we've got other groups that are calling for somewhere in the 5 to 8% range over the next 12 months. So who knows, right?
It's a good time to pay attention and have some information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we do see this as well. And this is from again from NAR, pending home pending home sales fall 19% year over year. And again, it's just the fact that, down in the Midwest, down in the South, down in the Northwest, and a little bit up in the West, right? So
one thing I'm going to say, Joe, is I read a lot of information, and obviously I have a Facebook account, so I get everybody's hot sports opinions, like all of us on Facebook get, right?
Right.
And I don't think year over year means anything at the moment.
I don't either.
When you're looking at a market condition, I think what's happened in the last quarter, last 60 days, last maybe 120 days, that's a reflection of year over year. Doesn't mean anything because, it shot way up and now all of a sudden we seem to be seeing a slide. So understand that I think this number is not reflective of how dramatically the market has changed in the last 120 days.
You're exactly right, Eddie. That first quarter before, rates started going up. The last 90 days, like you said, 120 have been significant, And Eddie, so here's from Fortune, and this is month over month shifts in housing inventory. And these dark blue lines here, they represent the latest stats here, which is July, right?
Yeah.
So we had in July of 2017, 35,000 U.S. housing inventory. Then 18, we see 19 here. We see 20 here, which was down 53.2 thousand. And then we see 21 start to go up a little bit. And then this year in July of 22, active listings. These are additional active listings, but there's a lot of red down here as well. So
paints a pretty clear picture of why I say year over year is not really the right measuring stick.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, and there still is a shortage. There's a shortage of listings. So the news isn't all bad there. There is a lack of supply. Home builders seem to have cut off a lot of their new production. And so they're not filling that gap. So those are all things to pay attention to.
Well, they would certainly rather have save their money and not have to discount and stop building and let it, and let the market play out, right?
Yeah.
So affordability improves just a little bit. And this is a slide that's a little bit hard to understand, but this is the blue line is the 25th percentile mortgage application P&I payments to the asking rent. And then the yellow is P&I to the median asking rent here. So basically it just shows an uptick in that. But I want to go to the next slide here, Eddie, when Realtor.com, basically it's saying that national rents remain at historic rates across both suburbs and urban areas, right? So you see that, but the average rent, it went down $3, right, Eddie, from June to July. It is now $1,879, and it was $1,882. So it did actually go down $3.
Yeah, I think rents are are tailing off. There's a lot more property for rent now than there was.
Yeah.
And I think that just naturally speaking, we're going to see a curtailment in a big increase in rates and stuff, because it's
you can't borrow the money.
We got the rents got so high that honestly people just couldn't pay the rent. They couldn't do it. And they started making other decisions, and it's supply and demand. And so I had somebody in my office here a little while ago, and they're telling me that, hey, Eddie, rents are off in our market $1,000 less than they were a year ago. Now they're in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho,
right?
High market. And, but I mean, and they're very well established in that market. They know what they're doing. So I thought that's a pretty dramatic number right there.
Yeah, that is right. And then we look at real estate investors purchased a record $60.1 billion in properties in Q2. Investor purchases remain elevated, far above pre-pandemic levels, and we're looking at they purchased about 87,500 properties, right?
They are. The real estate investor is continuing to have a big footprint on all of real estate.
Yeah.
And once again, I think there's reasons for that, Joe. Real estate investors are reacting to things, in a way that maybe the other traditional real estate listed through a realtor maybe doesn't know how to react. Right. And so that's why they're kind of all showing up at our doorstep, right? They're figuring out the things they do to keep themselves competitive in the market.
In this next slide, Eddie, we've got a couple of really high level students that live in this market, and you know who they both are. And so you talk about this a minute, right? This is Boise, right? What goes crazy up kind of comes crazy down, right? So median sales price change from a year. Look at this.
Yeah. I mean, that's a heck of a drop.
And then look at that. In the inventory hasn't really established what the price is yet. And that's true in a lot of particularly the Western cities. And I don't care if you're in Phoenix, you're in Boise, you're in Salt Lake City, you're in Denver, you're in San Diego, you're in Seattle. Yeah. They're not all exactly the same, but they're all having the same experiences. And so once again, Joe, if you're looking for is the glass half full or half empty? Let me say this: the half full is that this is when real estate investors shine. They solve problems that other people in real estate don't know how to solve. Yeah, and Eddie, if you were one of the lucky in some respects, unlucky in another that bought here, and now you're here, the only thing that can kind of help you out of that situation is going to be creative financing.
100%.
So, Eddie, we're going to change gears here for just a minute, and we're going to talk about the non-performing, what's going on there.
Okay.
So, zombie homes increased for the second quarter as foreclosures rise. So, it is a thing. We've been talking about this for a long time. So homes in the foreclosure process grew 4.44% over the last 3 months, right? That's an increase of 25.5% over the same quarter last year. So, there's your zombie houses. And then we look at the latest Black Knight report, and Eddie, I was talking with a couple of experts the other day. One was Bob. And so here's kind of the real number from Black Knight. So the number of properties that are 30 days or more past due but not in foreclosure is this number, 1.5.3. These are number of properties that are 90 days or more. This will not add up to this number, but the number of properties in foreclosure pre-inventory is 184, and the number of properties that are 30 days or more or in foreclosure is 1,728,000. So, there is right now, according to, the folks, about 3.455 million properties in trouble still.
Yeah. And once again, if people were holding on to them because the market was going up, knowing they are eventually going to have to sell to be able to pay off their delinquent mortgage, then people say that I don't know where we'll ever get inventory again. I think I might have an idea for them.
And Eddie, it one of the other things, just a comment that was the easiest workouts have been done. That's according to Black Knight.
Oh,
and these
sure.
numbers reflect that the easier workouts have been completed. And so, this is what these are going to be the harder ones.
Guys, let me just give you 42 years experience. Okay. In a loan portfolio, if a certain percentage of that loan portfolio gets delinquent, okay, the ones that can fix. The ones that are left, I call the sludge.
Yeah.
And the sludge is loans that probably aren't going to get cured. They probably aren't going to get paid off, except if they put their property on the market and they don't get refied out. And that's where we're at. And so people have got to make some tough decisions as mortgage lenders start doing what they need to do, which is exercise their right to foreclose, because these loans have been delinquent for a long time. This isn't some short-lived situation. So what else you got, Joe?
Well, last one is Fannie Mae announces reperforming loan sale, just closed a couple of weeks ago. And actually, the sale of approximately 5,460 loans totaling $663 million in UPB, unpaid principal balance, was awarded to JP Morgan Acquisition Company. And they will start, they'll keep the ones they want to keep, and they'll sell the rest, right?
They put them out in the marketplace. They have a certain box. They're forced to buy the whole box. Yep. And then they'll parcel off and sell some of the loans. And those are loans that end up with guys in our business and guys like us. Yep. And those are kind of some of the waterfall, you would say, right?
So, Eddie, I would say that if we wanted to kind of, talk about, the wrap up here, bad news maybe for the banks and the lenders, and I find it hard sometimes to feel sorry for the big banks and so on. So I'm just being honest, but I think this is all great news for us, right? And for what we do in this business.
Well, let me say it this way. We're not wishing bad on anybody.
No.
I've got friends in all those industries.
Absolutely.
And I've got people that are pretty dramatically affected, and I'm not happy for them personally. But the truth of the matter is, it's a transfer of wealth. And the deal is, if you're going to be transferring wealth around, I'd rather be on the receiving end of wealth than the losing end of wealth. And so I'm going to say to you that that's why we pull all this together, is so that you have an awareness of the market. I think what we're essentially saying, Joe, is this, right? Real estate markets have been affected because of the lending issue. The lending issue doesn't appear to be getting better.
No.
Right? And the forecast is not for sunny days. The forecast is for rainy days.
Right.
And so I want to be positioned to know what I need to do to take advantage of market conditions, not take advantage of any person or anybody or any industry. But listen, if an opportunity is going to come along, I want to know how to be in a good position to do it. And so that's why we close. That's why we are in a position to close more deals. And we know that the need for creative financing has shot up drastically. And now you know a little bit more about the behind the curtain of what may be causing it. And it might help us be better at forecasting what our future looks like.
Right. All right. Well, so that wraps up this episode of Note School TV, as well as, our monthly update. Enjoyed putting it together and spending time, Eddie, with you and I talking about this. And guys, for more information on what we do and how to close more deals, noteschool.com/TV. And remember, please, guys, keep your comments coming in. We love to hear those. And also, Eddie, we want them to share this with your friends, right? And your friends and your coworkers and everybody that you know.
If this session today was meaningful to you and you've got other friends in the industry, then share it with them.
Absolutely.
And let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you. Joe,
all right, we will see
the old
you
mayor of
next week.
Luckenbach, Texas once said, I'm out of soap.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great week and a great Labor Day weekend. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.